Hello there, I'm Tabletop Toby. Today we're going to be doing a GenCon 2025 preview. I'm going this year, I went last year, I'm super excited. I bought way too many games last year, but I enjoyed a lot of them, so I don't regret it too much. But I'm going to try to be a little bit more careful this year. So I've been previewing and looking at the BGG GenCon event preview, which I highly recommend. I'm going to put the link in the description below. So you can go there. If you're going, I highly recommend. You can filter by whether things are going to be just demoed or whether they're actually going to be on sale. You can even add things to a separate little GenCon list of must-haves or interested, so then you can have your little list so you can go around and look at the games and then make your decision there, which is something I'm definitely going to be doing. And for this list, I'm just going to mention a couple of things that are going to be there that I'm super excited to see but that are not for sale. Then I'm going to move into my list of 10, counting down by level of excitement of the things that are actually for sale there. So without further ado, the number one thing I'm excited for that's not going to be for sale there is SETI Space Agencies, which is the first expansion for SETI, which just came out last year. I have really enjoyed it. It's a complex worker placement game with a lot of card play, multi-use cards, goals. There's aliens that come in the middle of the game. But this expansion adds player asymmetry, which I kind of love. It adds quick start, kind of terraforming prelude style. The game I have found plays a little long, so the fact that they're adding something that fixes that, because that was my problem with Terraforming Mars the first couple times I played it without prelude. Those first couple of turns were very slow, and so that they're doing that with SETI, I would love if the game just picked up and got going a little faster, maybe shortened it just a little bit so you can get to the good stuff that comes in once you have the more resources and things going. Because I love the tie game, but if it's too slow to start, then it's just the fun doesn't start fast enough. And then of course, 3 new aliens, which those are just fun. They pop in the middle, so they have 3 more on top of the, I think it's 5 that you start with. And those are randomized, so you don't know which 2 you're going to get every time. So that's just more variety. And then I believe it's 40 new cards you're throwing in the mix. So super excited about that. It's going to be there, not for full demo, but you can kind of see the components, it sounds like. But just to see anything with it. And as soon as that goes up for pre-order, I'm going to be pre-ordering that. Something else that's going to be there that I'm excited about, Clank, Catacombs, expansion, Underworld. So this is going to add a new area that's a deeper level, that's kind of off the main board, where you can go deeper, where you have to pay a toll when you're there because of just, I don't know, the pain, the horror of being in the Underworld. But it's a different currency than the main gold. It's Underworld coins, so you have to get cards that generate that income. If you can't pay that income at the beginning of your turn, you get 2 extra Clank. So that could lead to an attack, of course, and put you in more danger. So there's risk to going deeper, but apparently the rewards, and there's more unique items. You can hire an imp assistant. So more rewards, but more danger, and I love that trade-off, and that's a fun trade-off in Catacombs. So looking forward to seeing that there. I've already signed up for the crowdfunding for that, which is still active. I'll throw a link to that below. I think there's another 2 weeks of that, and just the whimsical art, and I think the thoughtful nature of Paul Dennen. Every expansion for Dune Imperium has been amazing. The first expansion to Clank Catacombs was great. He always, I believe, takes his time and makes sure that those expansions, even though there's a lot of them from many of his games, that they fit in with what's going on. So I think this is going to be a fantastic extension to this game from the designer diaries they've been putting out. They always provide a lot of information. Very much look forward to seeing that there, even though I've already signed up for it, but that's why I'm excited about it, and it's on this list. Hercules and the 12 Labors is the next thing that's not for sale that I'm excited about. I signed up for this crowdfunding, and it should be on its way to me, hopefully not too far in the future. It's a solo dice strategy game, kind of in the vein of 20 Strong. You're rolling dice, you're making decisions about those. You work your way as Hercules through the 12 Labors. As you finish each one, you get kind of a new ability, and there's variability in how those play out each time. So that's kind of fun that you can work your way through, and even though you might fail, Apparently it's made to be difficult, of course, but then you're going to have variety each time you do that. The art on this looks amazing, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing those components in person. They did say they're going to have components there, and they're excited to show them off, so I'm looking forward to seeing those. And the last thing that's not for sale that I'm excited about is Above and Below Haunted. Now, I actually just got my copy. I kickstarted this, and I've done a few solo playthroughs, and I think it's really great. This is by Ryan Lockett, who of course did the original Above and Below, and then did Near and Far, which was kind of the campaign version of Above and Below, which took those designs of having the worker placement, you're building your village out, but in that case you were also going on adventures out in the lands. And this kind of takes the original Above and Below and takes some of those aspects of Near and Far, kind of combines those, throws in some ghosts that haunt your village, that are some trade-offs when you do different things or that you encounter when you go into the caves in adventure. But you can banish them, and you can banish them. When you banish them, you send one ghost to another player's village, and then you get benefits from that. But it's not too punishing because it really affects your reputation, which there is scoring for that at the end, but it's not a massive part of the scoring. So it's kind of a fun part of the game of sending the ghosts around, but it doesn't feel too awful because it's only a small chunk of the scoring. And you're only sending one to that person's village, which is just -1 reputation each time. So even the effect on that minor part of the scoring, when you're sending ghosts to someone else, is not that much, and you get resources from doing that. But I already have it. The art's great, and if you're going to be there, I thought maybe it would be for sale at GenCon because it's been delivered to backers, but it's not listed that way. So I'm not sure if it is or not, so I'm putting it in this part of the list, but maybe it will be for sale. If it's not, it says it's going to be there, so go and check it out because it's beautiful, and maybe it will be for sale. And if it is, then maybe you'll be lucky and be able to pick up a copy. And then just kind of a quick side shout out before I move to the 10 items that I'm excited about that are for sale there. And this is something that's for sale there, but it's not really a full game. This is just a class for the Elder Scrolls Betrayal of the Second Era, which is a game I've been playing through with one of my game groups and have been really enjoying. It's a strategy dice game in the Elder Scrolls universe where the classes are different dice sets that you upgrade your dice. You have your class, your race choices, and all of the things from the Elder Scrolls universe, and you're adventuring in all the different lands there. It's super fun, but also pretty challenging. But they're going to have a class that you can get there that is the chef class that allows you to use the consumables in a different way. I think it's going to be $10, and I think that's just silly and fun, and I will probably pick that up. So that's going to be there. If you're a fan of that game, if you have that game, then just an FYI, if you don't know, that's going to be there. And then moving into the official top 10 GenCon things that are for sale there that I'm excited about and that I think you might want to take a look at if you're going to be there. So number 10 is The Four Doors. I'm excited about this because it's by Matt Leacock, famously designer of Pandemic, which is obviously a great game, Pandemic Legacy, all of the pandemic-related games. I pre-ordered the Lord of the Rings version of Pandemic, which I played online and I'm super excited about. Now, The Four Doors is nothing like that. However, it is a cooperative game with asymmetric powers, so I guess it's similar in that regard. But it's more of a card game. We take a little look here, and you're moving through, and you're trying to collect a relic from behind each of the four doors in order to light the land. So you reveal these cards. Each player takes a turn, they draw a card, they move to an adjacent door, they give a card or relic to someone at your door, illuminating a shadow card from your door by discarding a card that bears a lantern in the same color, or finding a relic by discarding 4 cards of the same color matching your door. Now that does start to sound like a little pandemic-y, but it's a more restricted card game, kind of in a corridor. And so I love that concept, maybe more simple to get out to the table. You can play it like a game night as kind of a beginning kind of thing. I have a lot of friends that are more into cooperative games. It sounds like it might be a pretty easy teach. It's a strategy game where you're working together. The reason this is number 10 is because I haven't really seen it in action. I couldn't find the full playbook, although the description on BGG has a lot of information about it. It has the back of the box that kind of explains what's going on with it. It shows you that there are asymmetric powers, but it's also only $20, so if it looks interesting enough, I probably will pick it up. The next two on my list are Spooktacular and Inferno, and both of these are kind of interesting because I had looked at both of these in crowdfunding and had considered backing them and kind of came close, but then decided not to because I wasn't quite sure. And that's kind of where I am with both of them. I'm excited about them. They both have decent reviews from different content creators and also from the community on BGG. And I'm still kind of like, I don't quite know if it works for me. So I still want to see it in action. I think maybe that doubt means maybe I won't, but maybe I'll get there and see it in action, see it played, and maybe I'll change my mind. So we'll see on these. So the first one is Spooktacular. So this is an asymmetric game where in 1986, it's the last night of a movie theater, and all of a sudden, in its horror movies they're showing, the monsters come alive and they come out of the screen and they start basically devouring all the guests. And I love this theme. I'm a big horror movie fan, and I think that's really hilarious. And it's very goofy though, the theme. It's a horror theme, but it seems very silly. And just the nature of the art and everything, they definitely are going for kind of the ridiculous comedy aspect of it. All the victims are just little meeples. There's cards, if you go through and look at it, where they're just running from different rooms and doing things. And it sounds very asymmetric, and I remember this from the campaign that each of the monsters, and I feel like there's a bunch of them, like 20 or something, are completely different. Like their goals are different. And I know there's going to be some playthroughs going on there. So I just want to get a vibe more whether that would work. Now, supposedly it's a very quick play, like maybe 40 minutes to an hour. So the fact that you could have a completely asymmetric game, get it up and playing, and maybe even have a second game in a game night of the same game is very appealing to me. So that's has me thinking maybe on this one, but we'll see. I just want to see it in action a little bit more before I commit. So that's what we're going to do, and that's why it's on this list. The next game is Inferno. This is a much heavier game. This is a heavy worker placement with some kind of complex mechanisms, it sounds like. So this is specifically inspired by Dante's Inferno, the 9 levels of hell. So it's worker placement, and there's sinners who have died, and you, as part of your turn, lead these sinners. You move sinners down through the circles of hell. And when they get to the bottom, if you have lined them up and have them in the right place, then you get a bonus. And there's kind of a game as you're going through. You see there's these different symbols in hell. And so you get different things from those. And I think it seems very fascinating. Now, one critique that I've seen, and one that I had when I was seeing kind of previews when it was in crowdfunding that made me pause, was that it becomes that game, and I believe Dice Tower commented on this as well, that in their review of, oh, I'm waiting for you to move so you can get this, and then if you go first, then I'm going to get a better action because, you went down. So I'm not quite certain, and that gives me a little hesitation. But some of the other mechanics seem really interesting. So there's different monsters that you play out with, creatures. There's like Medusa and these different kind of classic creatures that come into the game, and they have different effects that you have to deal with as you go along. So there's some variability to the plays because I think you kind of mix those up. And there's town actions and a lot of sequencing, and I love sequencing and planning, and that is a big part of the game in the previews and the reviews that I've seen of the game. So this is another one I still just have some hesitations. So I want to see it there in action. I wasn't able to sign up for one of the playthroughs that they had available before those were all taken up, but I'm hoping to kind of stalk around and see it in action, maybe go to the table, talk to them a little bit more about it. I've read the rule book, so I'm aware of that, but I just I don't know, maybe there'll be something that tells me there whether I want to play it or not. Because that definitely happened last year. There were games that I saw in person and I would talk to them and see it in action. I was just like, I don't think this is for me. And there were others saw it and I was like, yes, I think this is it. I feel it now and just, working through it. And, maybe that's some game mumbo jumbo. But, it is what it is. We have to go with our hearts, our board gaming hearts. The next item is number 7. So this one is Helsing. So this is based on apparently a graphic novel. So obviously a reference to Van Helsing. And you see the art here is very cartoony, very with the whimsical. You see, look at the art on the box. Don't have a great picture of there. You have the board and the flaming skull. And you see what board this might remind you is Horrified. And so it was interesting because I had seen this when I was going through the BGG list. And I was like, this looks really cool. It's cooperative, which is very appealing to me because I have a lot of friends that are into cooperative games. And I was very interested in it, but I couldn't find anything else about it. I couldn't find the rule book. I couldn't find any coverage of it. I couldn't find that anyone had a preview copy of this. It's going straight to retail, so there just was no coverage of it. But then I found Grant Leon's video where he went over games that he had been able to play at this convention, and I'll link his video below so you can see him talk about it more. But he basically said that this was kind of like Horrified with card crafting, and I was like, oh my gosh, that sounds great to me, like a more complex version of Horrified. That sounds very appealing to me. It's going to be launching at GenCon for sale for the first time. So I'm definitely going to be checking this out. This is another one I don't quite have enough information about, but I'm very intrigued about it with that pitch and this art. I'm going to be looking at this, talking to them, seeing if they have the rulebook there so I can actually take a look at that, see it in action, and then we'll make that decision and see how that goes. But I'm very excited about that with Grant Leon's description of his experience playing this. So we will take a look. All right, now we're getting to the top 6. So these are all going to be games that I either have and I'm recommending them on this list because I am excited about my plays and experience with them. So I'm saying, hey, you might consider looking at these if you're going to Gen Con, or they are pretty much must-buys for me and I'm going to be getting them when I'm there. So the level of excitement for these is high, either way. So we'll start with number 6. Now, number 6 is a strange one for me. It is Lightning Train. So I have to first say that I do not like the Train board game. And we all know what Train board game I'm talking about. I am not a fan of this game. And I understand it's a game that brought a lot of people into the board game world. And I thank it for that. And I appreciate its place in the board game universe and history. And I don't begrudge it for that. But I pretty much don't ever want to play that Train game again. I just don't like it. I don't like the decisions you're making, and it feels like, to me, they're more limited, and I understand it's a certain weight class and all of that, and that's fine. And I don't mind playing games of that weight class, but the specific decisions aren't as interesting for me, and kind of the meanness of blocking, at least with the people I've played with, just not an enjoyable experience for me. So I have to put that out there. So I have a strong bias against Train games because I've had negative experiences with that particular Train game. And I know a lot of people love it, and you can love whatever games you want. And that's totally fine. More power to you. We all should find joy where we can in the world. I strongly and truly believe that. So I think it is very funny that we're going back to Paul Dennen again, who also designed Clank Catacombs. And my favorite game, it's probably my favorite game, Dune Imperium. And so that is why I'm buying this game, Lightning Train. So Paul Dennen, what are you doing to me? You have me buying a train game. So this is Lightning Train. So this is a bag building train game where you have your bag and you have your starting tiles, and you can get additional tiles as you go through that kind of change your strategies, and you can focus on different aspects, at least from what I can tell. There's a playthrough on Dice Tower of this game, and you have different goals, and it looks strategic enough in how you're making those decisions and how you decide to build your stations and reach your goals and build out your bag that I'm kind of like, I think I'm going to give it a go. And a lot of it is just like because it's Paul Dennen, and because Paul Dennen designed Dune Imperium, which I live for, and Clank Catacombs, which I really love. So I'm going to give this a go. If I can get a copy of this, I'm going to get a copy of it. I'm going to get a play. I'm going to play it with an open heart and say, maybe this is going to be the train game for me. So Paul Dennen, you have me buying a train game, and that is a feat. And it is pretty much just because of you. So Lightning Train, that is why it is on here, because it is Paul Dennen. It is bag building. Bag building, kind of engine building-y, and those things speak to my heart. So I'm getting on the Lightning Train. The next game, number 5, is Fliptoons. This is definitely the lightest game on this list. It's on BGA if you want to try it out. This is a deck builder. It's kind of a fast deck building game, and it has an element of luck though, because every turn you're shuffling your hand and dealing it again, but you can buy cards, you can shed cards, and there's a round at the end where you have a final kind of reveal. And if you have the highest point value at the end of that round, then you win. So there's kind of a fun final thing where whoever triggered the end of the game doesn't necessarily win. It's who has that last reveal. So there's definitely an element of luck and chance with that, but it's how much you position yourself to, have that likelihood of winning in that last round. Because it's deck building, and I love deck building, but it's also because of this art. It's kind of the Looney Tunes kind of old school cartoon art, I think is one of the main things, and just the simplicity of the teach and being able to throw this out as a starter game at a board game night, I think is going to be very easy to explain to people. The cycle of how it works is very easy. If you're interested in this at all, I once again recommend going on BGA and getting into it. It takes almost no time at all to understand how this game works. And I think that's kind of the fun of it. So you play a couple rounds and you're like, great, that was super fun. And then, you play it again sometime in the future. But I think this is super fun and I'm definitely picking it up. All right, number 4 is Lost Ruins of Arnak Adventure Chest. So Lost Ruins of Arnak, along with Dune Imperium, 2 of my favorite games. So Lost Ruins of Arnak is also a worker placement deck building game. These are common themes with me. And the Adventure Chest is both a storage solution for Lost Ruins of Arnak, which is sorely needed. I had literally over the last year after the last expansion, been considering buying a printed version of a organizer for this that was going to be $50 or $60. And then they announced this, which is this huge box. Let's actually look at their website. You can see here the extreme wondrous organization of everything that looks great for all of the mini components with all of the expansions. So that's amazing in itself. But it also includes the new Twisted Paths expansion. So more Lost Ruins of Arnak content. I'm here for it. So I already pre-ordered this when CGE made pre-orders available on their website. I don't have my copy yet. I thought I was maybe going to have it before GenCon, but it's not here. But they are going to have it for sale at GenCon, it seems. Now, the funny thing is, my good friend Nick, this is a shout out to Nick, who said that they're probably going to pick this up and then I could maybe have their copy and then they'll take mine when it comes in the mail. So thank you in advance if you do end up doing that, Nick. This Twisted Paths expansion, it's 2 more boards, 2 more variable temples, which is always fun for those of us who have played the game a lot of times. More different paths and things you kind of have to figure out how that particular map works, because they do a good job of making them a little bit different. So you have to figure out what strategies work best with that. There's new resources in the form of dark tablets. Don't quite know how that works out. They say that they have a rulebook available on the website, but when you go there, it's not there. So I couldn't get more information about that, at least right now. But there's going to be more assistants, more guardians. There's new solo content, which I have played it solo on occasion. So just more Lost Ruins of Arnak stuff. but the new maps and the new resources combined with having a glorious storage solution to make setup just faster and easier, so maybe I can get it out even more. So very excited about that. So if you're a big Lost Ruins of Arnak fan, if you already have all the other expansions, or if you have most of them, then you might consider taking a look at this and picking this up. My number 3 on this list is How to Save a World. I've done a whole video kind of going over this, so I'll put a link here someplace. This is a worker placement, not quite deck builder, but you acquire cards that you're able to use each round. So sort of engine builder. And then it's a kind of collective bag builder where you invest in different projects, and there's a drawing that occurs from that bag to determine which projects are successful to save the world. And you're doing this by firing a laser to destroy the asteroid, putting up a shield to protect from the asteroid, or everyone just running. And this is a planet that was discovered, and scientists are trying to research plants and species, and then they see an asteroid's coming, so they're trying to protect everything that they've discovered here, which could, cure cancer or do any number of things. But the reason I have this so high on the list is because I think this is a really interesting game. It's kind of a mid-weight game where the rules teach is very straightforward, but with the cards in this game, they provide a lot of different strategic paths combined with the worker placement options. And I love that it provides that experience in a more compact way. And I love that those card purchases that you make are so important. So once again, if you want to learn more about that, take a look at my video. I highly recommend it if you're into worker placement, kind of engine building, if you want that thematic experience with the asteroid coming in and about to destroy the planet. I just think it's a way more interesting midway worker placement game than a lot of other ones out there. Next is Shackleton Base. I also just put out a video on this if you want to take a look at that. This is also a worker placement game with some engine building where you can acquire cards that give you different efficiencies, but you also can get efficiencies by how you place the astronaut workers in your base. Here you're building a base on the moon in Shackleton Crater. You're getting different resources there. There's corporations that you're trying to complete different tasks for them. Rules teach is reasonably straightforward given the weight of the game, and maybe that's it, is the weight of the game part, because it's not a light game. So I think for the weight of the game, I think the teach is reasonably light for the level of complexity of strategic options you have in the game. Like, I think it's a way easier teach than SETI, which I have taught before, but I think this is super fun. I don't even know if it needs expansions for a while because of the variability of the different corporations. It's like it has expansions built into it, but I'm loving it so much. Maybe I'm looking forward to some expansions, but I think I'm set for a while. I want to get this one out in the wild some more and play it with people and explore trying it out with those different corporations and how they work with each other, because I think how they combine with each other is going to be very different. And I think that's the thing about this game, is the discoverability is very high, both in the different options with kind of the base mechanics and also with the corporations and how you play each time. And then there's asymmetric player powers. Like, my gosh, every play I feel is going to feel a little different. If those aspects, worker placement, engine building, the variability, and there is some interactivity here. So that's something to be aware of. So if that is something that sounds good to you, I can't recommend this game enough. And the theme, if it's spacey, sciencey, the kind of throwback art as well. So that's Shackleton Base, and it's going to be at GenCon. And the number 1 on my list is one that I have not had a chance to play. It is number 1 on my list because I'm having the FOMO for it. And I will pick it up if I can get it. My understanding is that they're going to have copies there, but maybe they're going to be limited. And this is Luthier. So this is a game. It's also a worker placement. As you can tell, I love the worker placement, where you're making instruments and you are a family of instrument makers, and you get patrons who want a specific kind of instrument, and you kind of bid for different spots where you want to go. So depending on how much you want to go there, you can put extra things to assure that you're going to get that spot instead. So you could potentially overbid for that spot or underbid, and then someone else can take it from you. So there's a little bit of competition, extra competition for the worker placement spots, which I like that idea of that game space of evaluating how much it means for you to get a specific spot. There's also, with the patrons who want the instruments, you have to complete the project within a certain period of time or they'll go away and say, okay, I give up. I'm not sticking with you anymore. But you can apparently give them things to tease them along and then they actually give you bonuses. So there's this game of taking a little extra longer, so they give you extra things, but then you can't tease it out too long or then they'll go away. And I think that's really funny and a little thematic. The board looks a little busy, to be honest, but the gameplay I've seen looks really cool, and I came really close to backing this and I didn't, and I regret it now. And so I'm gonna try to make up for that and pick it up because I think it looks really good, and the feedback and reviews of it have been really good, and I've been regretting it in the last couple of months as it's been out in final form to people. So I am going to try to get this into my hands and then get some content out to you. And that is why it is number 1 on my list, Luthier. So those are my top 10 things that I'm most excited about that are actually for sale at GenCon 2025. If you're going to be at GenCon, let me know. Would love to see you there. Maybe we can play a game even. I have arranged my schedule, so hopefully I can actually play some games while I'm going to be there. And if there's games that are not on this list that you're excited about, throw those in the comments below and tell me what you're excited about and why, because I would like to hear those. Because there's so many games on that BGG preview list that all the time I'll see some content creators list and they have one on there that I have not focused on at all. And it sounds really cool. And I'm like, oh my gosh, maybe I should be looking at that too. So many games. Love the games. So thank you for being here. If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe. Really appreciate it. It means a lot to me. And, just remember, the only rule is that there are no rules except in board games.